Okay, balloonist. Oh, wait a minute. They now 3. They stayed in the game throughout the whole game to where they couldn't really put them away. Now, OKC, they didn't capitalize on a lot of things that they usually capitalize on. Indiana had 20 turnovers in the first half. 20 turnovers in the first half is crazy. I think they finished with 30. I can't remember, 34, 36. It was a wild amount of turnovers, 31, something like that. But off of all these turnovers, OKC only scored 11 points off of turnovers. OKC defense is tremendous, of course, but they usually convert points after the turnovers, and last night they didn't do that. 11 points over 30. How many you got the turnovers?
25.
25,
Yeah.
pardon me. 25 turnovers. So that means they have 5 turnovers in the second half, pardon me, everybody. But 11 points off of 25 turnovers, that's not going to cut it. Secondly, a key component that we talked about leading up to this playoff series was Jay Will and Chet. Chet cannot have these type of games if you expect to win. Now, we all know this was a buzzer beater, and everybody would be, not necessarily a buzzer beater, 0.3 left on the clock, but everybody be saying, oh, OKC is good, don't worry about this, that, and the third. But this is why it's 48 minutes, and this is why you need your superstars, or not superstars, the other stars, according to your roster, to show up. You can't have 6 points if you Chet in this championship round. It's not going to work. Jay Will played decent. I'm not mad at his play, but everybody has to step up to the occasion. Yeah. Everybody needs to realize you are 4 wins from losing a championship, and you're 4 wins from winning one. Now Indiana's 3 wins. They took home court advantage from you, where OKC been great throughout the playoffs, not just the playoffs, the regular season at home. And now what this reminds me of moving forward with this series is, if y'all think this is going to be a run, it ain't. It's one of them situations where like, yeah, OKC going to sweep the niggas. OKC in 5. It won't go past 6. Indiana like, nah. This kind of reminds me leading into the next game when we seen Roach fight Tank. And we like, yo, Tank ain't finishing this nigga. I mean, this nigga might be winning the fight now that I think about it, now that I'm looking at it. He might, then round 9, you like, nah, this nigga, I think the nigga winning. This is what this seems like. This seems like round 7 or round 8 of that fight, because now when you come out, if you would have beat them by 10, 15 points if you're OKC, you would have been like, yeah, we knew these niggas wasn't like that. Now niggas came out and shot you, and they don't give a fuck about you, and this is what Indiana's been doing throughout this playoff series. Not only that, the coaching experience from Rick Carlisle is tremendous. For him not to call a timeout with that 8-9 seconds left just goes to show that he trusts the team, and he definitely trusts the ball in Halliburton's hands. Another coach would have called a timeout and set up a play, which gives the defense time to set up as well. But for him not to call a timeout, he knows, he trusts his player, he trusts Halliburton definitely with the ball at the end of the game. And I can't give enough props to the Indiana Pacers for how they finished that game strong and not giving up and waiting for the clock to hit 000.
Yeah. So great points. And back to your point about the turnovers. So yeah, they had 25 total turnovers for the game, 19 in the first half. And they actually tied a franchise record for most turnovers in any quarter of a playoff game with 9. So based off of what we've seen, people can argue this is actually one of the Pacers' worst games. But does this game 1 kind of change how you feel about the whole series? And Mase, gonna let you go first.
Yeah, definitely. I always thought that OKC would be like the stronger team to jump out, so that's why I gave them the benefit to win the series. But this is the Indiana team we saw in Cleveland. You know, the resilience, not the 4 quarters of play. Because when they first came out, you know, they looked really, really like they were out of place, like almost like they were playing a beat behind, or at least 2 beats behind the OKC team. It just seemed like they wasn't taking it serious. I'm like, they got to get their energy together. It seemed like OKC is running at a different speed than they were. And then as the game went on, it just changed. So when that type of thing happened, it does change the series, because if I play my absolute worst and I beat you, my confidence goes to another level. I think every person on that team confidence is now higher, because we're not going to play worse than this. and they were actually playing great, and we still were able to beat them. And I think that changes the tide a little bit. Now we're looking at a 6 game series at least at this point. I think we're looking at a 6 game, 7 game series where it changes. Now it's looking favorable for Indiana.
Okay, and then Maurice, does this game one kind of change how you feel about how the series is going to go?
Yeah, it definitely changes it. I didn't think that Indiana had a chance, just like probably everybody else. I thought the defense for OKC was going to be too much. I thought that this would be Shea's moment. He would basically cap off his MVP season and start off game one down to OKC with a theatrical performance. But, just like what May said, when you play that bad, you still stay in the game. And then on the road, I think, which is the biggest thing, and Cam made a bunch of good points. I wanted to interject, but it was just a bunch of good points being made in the road. When you do this on the road, when you have your superstar in Tyrese Halliburton have the ball in his hands and he goes out and he closes out the game, the confidence and the momentum has shifted. And I would say this just from being around a bunch of championship teams. Man, once you get confidence, it's a momentum, or being able to play the right way at the right time, and you're just playing this great basketball in a vacuum. I don't know if you can quantify that. I don't even know how you measure that versus who you're playing. So it definitely changes my attitude. I think Indiana goes home and say, man, we can go beat these dudes 3 more times. And I think just what May said, hey, we played bad and we still beat them. So if we go ahead and shore up what we have going on, we can go ahead and win a championship. But it definitely changes me, changes my position.
Yo, Larry, what's the odds for Vegas with the championship after this game? What was it before this game?
So the OKC opened up as a 7-1 favorite against Indiana. So now,
Indiana.
And then also tonight, the next game, they opened up, the first game they opened up 9.5-point favorites, and they lose this game, obviously, right? But the second game is the trap game, and I just looked up OKC is -11, so they're not giving Indiana any respect at all.
So Vegas niggas definitely don't give Indiana no props. So Indiana's still a 360 favorite when there's a 700 favorite. They gotta stop just sleeping on the Pacers, man. That's just that. We'll see. I can't determine what's going to happen, especially after you take home court advantage. We see how that changed that series because the Knicks were favored to beat Indiana. And that first game, to me, really changed the tide of that series. Not just the first game, they came and won the second game as well in New York City. So if Indiana goes into OKC and leaves 2-0, I think it's their series. It's really about how OKC responds next game. If they come out and bust Indiana ass, one of them 20-point, 25-point victories, I think it's still in their favor. But even if OKC comes out and only wins by 1 and 2, 3 points, less than 5 points, I think it's Indiana's favor because Indiana be like, yeah, these niggas ain't like y'all niggas think they are. That's my opinion. I think everything is based upon next game before I can give a final decision. Depends on how OKC looks after next game because some of these games, those one of them games where it changes the tide, especially how, like I talked about how we don't see Shea rattle. That nigga Shea walked off the court pissed last night. That nigga don't be mad. He don't be getting upset. This is the first time I seen this nigga upset. I ain't gonna use the word rattle, upset. He still got his numbers, but something's going on. Something's going on in Indiana, and we about to find out. I can't wait for the next game.
Yeah, Nimhard knows him. They played together in Canada, so you know how you get against somebody, you know this nigga. Like he could do that on other people. He won't do that on me. And pause. It looked like when he switched on to Shea, it changed the game because he was actually able to stay in front of him even better than a much taller Neesmith. Neesmith was having trouble with Halliburton, and then when he got, not Halliburton, with Shea, and then when they switched, it was just like he could guard him. So I think that was, an old school rivalry that they got going on.
Yeah.
And that's the Lamont Roach and Frank. I said Frank Tank Davis. But I was about to ask both of y'all a question. Is this at the point of the season or is this a time where their youth catches up with them? We've always talked about how, the youth plays a favor and we start this dynasty and, OKC is this young team who can be the next Golden State Warriors. But did that go through either of y'all mind about their age and their inexperience, like playing against them right now and not knowing how to close out games?
I think not really, because both of these teams are very young. I think even when you look at Indiana, this is a young team. Both of them are young in that capacity. So this, to me, is a changing of the guards. Whoever win this is now that new champion that we have not seen in the NBA. Whether it's OKC or whether it's the Indiana Pacers, it's been an extremely long time since we've seen that Seattle team win a championship, even though it's OKC now.
What I would say is I don't think that it's youth because it isn't like Indiana's old either. They got some experienced players. But it's dope because both of these teams and both of the stars on the team, when we're talking about Tyrese Halliburton and then we're talking about SGA. Both these players were in the not SGA. Halliburton was in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. SGA been getting bumped second round, but he just made his mark in the Western Conference Final. So it isn't like they have a lack of playoff experience. They both have playoff experience. Neither one of them have championship experience. We could say that with Siakam and Carlisle, but if we're talking about Halliburton and Shea, neither one of them have championship experience. So it's about who's about to step up to the plate and who wants it more. Now, the supporting cast means a lot. It means a lot. Like I said, Halliburton came and finished niggas off, pause. But he didn't drop the body. The team did. He came and hit him with a headshot. Boom. Soon it was over. How nigga ain't dead? Nigga say, yo, finish that nigga, pause. Killed him. That's what he did. But it was by committee in the fourth quarter. You got Miles Turner, you got Nembhard, you got Neesmith. All these people contributed, not just throughout the game, especially in the fourth quarter. So I don't think it's about the lack of inexperience for OKC because it isn't like Indiana has the experience either. Coach-wise and player-wise, yeah. But as a unit, no.
Right. Okay. So last question regarding the game, because we said the supporting cast does matter, in which it does. So looking at OKC side, who needs to step it up? And Cam, you did speak on Chet, but I kind of want you, one, to reiterate that, and two, you guys to give your answers on who you think needs to step it up on OKC side if they want to kind of change the trajectory of the game. Maurice first.
I don't say if it's anybody that in particular needs to step up because they were doing the right things. It's just the conversions of the turnovers. When you have that many turnovers and you don't convert to widen the victory or to widen the margin in which you winning by, that's a team thing. And I just remember, they were scrambling everywhere and mass turnovers were happening, but just the conversions of the turnovers, right? If you go ahead and I don't know if you said it was 30 odd turnovers, but even if you make 70% of those buckets, the margin of your victory will be over. And so I would say it's everybody, and it's just converting on just the bad balls. Bad balls, pause. But it's just a team effort. But it's taking advantage of the team. It's taking advantage of them when you have the ability to take advantage of them. Pause.
Okay, Mase.
Yeah, I would definitely say the entire team could play better when it comes to the tenacity, like he said, of getting rid of a team. Like when you have a team on the ropes, there's no way I'm up 15 and you're beating me. You never beat me. We up 15. We're trying to get it to 37. We're trying to get all the people that never play on the court so they can get their buckets. We want to see people who never got a basket get a dunk. You got to run teams out of the gym, especially because this is a game they should have won. So the whole team got to play with that killer instinct. They were doing all the right things, but in the fourth quarter, they kind of just went away. It kind of just got lost the whole fourth quarter because something was happening that they wasn't just taking it serious enough.
And the exact question, Statham?
Yeah, who kind of needs to step it up? And they're kind of saying the team in particular, but on OKC side for them to kind of change the trajectory.
The thing, like I said, Chet didn't have the best game, and he's going to second or third option on the team. But See, the thing about it is this. We're saying who needs to step it up. Yo, these niggas is literally 2 seconds from winning this game. So therefore, we wouldn't even be having these conversations, even though woulda, coulda, shoulda. I get that.
Right.
But just if Tyrese Halliburton missed this shot, we would have been asking, well, who needs to step it up on Indiana? Who needs to do this? If we gonna point somebody out, I'm gonna point Chet out for having not stepping up in the moment. But we're not gonna sit and act like Indiana killed OKC. They won with less than a second left. But it's till all the zeros on the clock. But if I have to single one person out for OKC, I'm gonna go with Chet. But to me, it's not about one player. It's about them not capitalizing off the turnovers that they got. We all know that Oklahoma City Thunder defense is number one throughout the regular season. They've been looking tenacious as well as the playoffs is concerned, but they usually convert that into points. So I'll blame Chet if we're going to single out one person, but I think it's more about the team collectively not making points, not turning turnovers into points, and I think that was the real difference.
What you want, nigga? Everything, nigga, super size. 2 Big Macs, like when they doing them 2 for $5.